Hey, what's up? You are tuned into Binge Worthy Podcast with myself, Nate, and Mr. G. Oliver.
What up, y'all? Welcome to episode 3, season
And the
2, episode 3.
and the I guess we got a baby on deck now. Okay. Third co-host.
Yeah,
That
just
must
for just for tonight. He's struggling to go to sleep tonight. He's usually sleep by the
fighting it.
time we get
Fighting
started.
it.
Yeah, but he's fighting big time tonight.
You're not one of those Benadryl parents, are you? You're not gonna be one of those.
Oh nah. He like
Okay.
no. I That sounds weird, but then I feel like I've heard parents talk about,
Oh yeah,
little
that used to
stuff.
be the secret weapon.
Yeah, so
That
so
was
he
the secret.
really he doesn't need it.
Okay.
It's not this is not a normal thing. This is not a regular thing.
Mm,
I think he took a later nap than usual today. So usually in days like that, like we try to keep him on a schedule, and he fights it on those days where his nap comes a little later in the day.
mm.
But no, he actually is usually really good about like his sleep schedule. So it's a rarity that he's you know in this state that he's in tonight. He's fighting big time tonight.
He fighting it. He fighting
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But tonight we're actually on episode number 3. Thanks to everybody who is tuning in. Um, uh, Last week the comment section was locked, and then when I was like, I thought it didn't get anything on it, and then when I unlocked it, like all these messages came at one time. But thanks for everybody that's tuning in. Continue to share, like, watch it. Please watch. Our watch time is starting to go up, so please continue to watch it through. I know last week it was a long one. We got it in for a minute, but I think we just lost track of time. But we're gonna try to stay focused on the timing and everything tonight. But tonight we have a different theme. Season 2 is very thematic in terms of the overall themes of many of the films that we're watching. This third episode is biopics, and not the typical what we know today to be biopics, where all of these celebrities and individuals are making their own documentaries into movies that should be
Hmm.
really documentaries. Uh, but biopics in a day like the 90s and 80s, it used to be, historical figures and groundbreaking individuals who really have left a mark. Not to say these people haven't today, but these were like politicians and just a general historical figures, and they were informational type biopics. It wasn't just salacious, like the Whitney Houston salacious biopics and stuff like that. But
Oh yeah,
really,
well, none of the ones on the list were produced by Lifetime
no, not at all. Or BET
or
or
BET.
right, none of that going on. We have a nice selection of films that were
Going to
actual
be
movies,
yeah,
but they were biopics because of how what the information that you got.
yeah,
Some of them was more informative and historical, like a history class, and the other ones were more catering to the entertainment aspect of who that person was.
yeah.
And we have a special guest today, Miss Tracie Jiggetts. We're gonna let her in a couple seconds, but I want everybody to understand we're not yaying or naying any films, or we don't like it, or two thumbs down. Like, we do give our opinions, our honest opinions on whether we like stuff or not. But we more so are looking at the historical, cultural, and social impact that these films have had on us as individuals, and just for the culture in general. But other than that, this is February. I think we have one more episode where we are talking about love and Black history, and it's gonna be an interesting next week. But how was your Valentine's Day?
It was nice. It was
It was
nice.
nice. Are you a big celebrator of the
No,
hearts
we're not big celebrators of just holidays in
in
general.
general? Hmm.
The ones we do celebrate largely is mostly for the kids.
For the children, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
Christmas is a thing, but mostly for the kids. Thanksgiving is a thing, but that's because it's an excuse to like invite everybody over. So like we've done Thanksgiving here.
Hmm.
The last two Thanksgivings minus the most recent one because of COVID. Um,
Right. I never
and
really understood. Go ahead.
so yeah, we exchanged gifts and things like that, but no, we haven't really done like a big huge Valentine's Day type of thing. It's exchanging of gifts and things like that. But no, we're not huge on big celebrations. So
Right. I never the argument that people are making now, and
mhm.
really, I mean, the holidays. A lot of the holidays have stemmed from stuff that wasn't for us, or the evilness of our history, well, the world's history, really. But I like how, especially Black people, we've made the holidays our own and
Yeah,
made them more appropriate for our individual uh, taste.
right,
Uh,
right.
but
Which is
so
easy to do when you once you become aware of the commercialization of a lot of these holidays,
yeah,
then taking it and making it your own, I think, is a little easier to do because as Black folk, I don't think anybody really has any strong connections to most of those holidays, especially like a Valentine's Day.
yeah,
But like you do what works for you,
yeah,
in your relationship. I think that's what's most important. Like neither
yeah.
me nor my girlfriend are really huge on holidays, right? So,
Mhm.
but like if she was, I would be all for it.
Yeah.
Like if one of us was, then I think it would be a thing. But it just so
Mm.
happened that both of us, we're both like, it's whatever.
I mean, it's a little surprising because I just picture you being more of a, you know, I don't want to say sappy, but
Mhm.
like the
Oh, I
mushy.
think I am. I mean, I think that's a fair analysis. I think that's fair. Um,
Because you're a
but I
very
mean, I don't
thoughtful
need
individual.
holidays to
You
do
got
that.
a little thoughtfulness.
I think that's a fair assessment of like my natural personality, especially in relationships.
Hmm.
I don't necessarily need holidays to do that, right?
Right,
Like
right, right, right,
so
right.
so so yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm just not sentimental about holidays like that. You know what
And
I mean?
me, on the other hand, holidays like this puts
Hmm.
me on blast because I'm not saying I'm not a thoughtful person, but my thoughtfulness is very spontaneous,
Hmm.
like out of the blue. So it gives me a frame of reference,
Okay,
kind of a schedule
gotcha.
to look
So how was your
forward to.
Valentine's Day? Did you do anything?
Uh, I did not in person because I'm not for that, and I'm kind of like in something long distance,
Okay.
newly
Okay. Yeah,
long
that's
distance.
always tough.
So we did like the computer FaceTime. What you call it? Like I think like
Zoom?
Skype or something, like Zoom or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. So
Did like a dinner over Zoom.
yeah, it's kind of corny, but
No, I mean,
hey.
like those are the types of things you got to do in this pandemic age, right? Like,
Oh well, that's me in general because
and
I really be forgetting. So that shit was just.
what I did find interesting this year, and I know it didn't start this year, but this was the
Mhm.
first year that I became aware of
Mhm.
Galentine's Day.
Galen Thompson.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. It's spelled like it would be Galentine's Day.
Okay.
Or maybe it's Galentine's, as in gals, but
Oh,
apparently
okay.
it's like the day
Like friends get
before,
together.
and all the girls get together and they do their own little
Oh,
like
okay. Like Friendsgiving or
Valentine's
something like
Day.
that.
Yeah, it's kind of like Friendsgiving, but
Yeah.
for Valentine's Day. So I thought that was interesting.
I
I know
thought you
it's
was about to talk about the side chick, so that I thought that was a
well,
side chick day.
I'm sure that it's something. I mean, I'm not. No, I'm not
Was
gonna
that the
say that.
day after
I don't want to make.
Valentine's
I don't
Day?
want to make nobody
You
mad.
don't want to put yourself
I
on blast.
don't
Okay,
want to
I
put
got you.
myself
I
on
got you.
blast.
I got you. I got you.
I think, but I would not be surprised if
Uh-huh.
if it had a lot to do with you know.
But what I am seeing a trend. People aren't imposing people anymore because I used to hate when people got married on certain holidays. Like what you how you know I ain't want to do nothing. Like why would you obligate me to be a friend on today when?
Yeah,
But I like
I
the
kind of
day
think that's
before, day
lazy.
after. It's lazy,
I
but
think it's kind
trust
of
me, I would
lazy.
do it because I would
Um,
forget. It would help me to
right.
remember.
Well, it would. And that's the benefit. It would remember, like
You never forget.
like like getting married on like a holiday or
Yeah.
proposing on a holiday. Yeah.
Have you done anything special for Black History Month? Because you do have
Um,
children, so.
no. No, we haven't done anything special. And it's funny. It's funny that you asked because it was something that I thought about this year. Um, is the fact that like we really don't do any, Black History Month is just Black History Month.
Uh
Like
huh.
it's just a time for us to, there's a lot of information that goes around to bring in, to take in. Um,
Mm,
but I've never really experienced Black History Month as like a time to like for celebration outside of like what we did in schools.
oh
And
yeah,
and
yeah,
I was actually thinking about that this
yeah.
Valentine's Day. I mean, not Valentine's, Black History Month. So I think what's going to happen is that I think next year I am going to try to like plan like a some type of
Yeah.
intentional activity or event like in the home amongst my kids. Because
Mm-hmm.
I
Some type
actually
of
was thinking about
tradition.
this list like a week and a half ago, and I think it's something we should get into. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
should celebrate like we celebrate on Juneteenth. When you
Yeah.
think about it, like
Well, because of the pandemic, most times, like here in Baltimore, like the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, the Blacks and Wax, most of the museums do something for holidays. So that's normally outside of me probably planning something for the school that I'm working at that time.
right,
That's normally what I would do with like my
as do I.
nieces, or I would go with one of my friends that have children, but or one of the theaters normally do stuff for holidays. So it's normally something you can do, but it's nice to have like your own like traditions that you can start because right now, aside from you just sitting your child in front of a computer or TV and watching a movie,
Yeah,
it kind of makes it more interactive, which a lot of children need more interactive learning with their family because it kind of reiterates what they've learned in school. But this year, the school that I'm at now, the program that I work for, they wanted to do something. I was like, I can do like a playlist of movies, but I'm not playing enough in virtual.
yeah,
Like, that's a lot of
yeah.
work rehearsing children, and they already burnt out. So
Like I love what the transitions that I've seen like in schools to virtual,
uh-huh.
but some things like I think we can just be like,
It's a little
all right,
too
we can let that one kind of hang.
much. Right.
We can chill
I
on
did
that
like
this
a
year.
movie list for them. So we got like a account with this program where they'll send you like biopic movies and stuff like that, and you can make a
Yeah.
list and send it to your classroom. So I'll send you that information because you
Cool.
might like it. But I'm not gonna make her wait anymore
Has she
because
been
she
waiting all this
been
time?
yeah she been
Oh
here.
man,
So
talk about we've been some
so
ungrateful
we gonna
hosts.
welcome in our we gonna welcome in our special guest, Miss Tracie
One of my
Jiggetts.
favorite people.
Okay,
One
what's
of
up?
my
What's up?
favorite people.
So without further ado, we got Miss Tracie Jiggetts coming in.
You can hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
How you doing? How you doing? I just had to switch it up a little bit, let them see we've growing a little
I
bit.
know that's right.
He
Growth
went
is
he
here.
went to commercial break and
You
then
know,
he
I,
you
brought
I,
know,
you
I
back.
felt that.
a
Well,
little,
first of all, can you hear me? You can
we
hear
can
me?
hear you.
Everyone
We
We
can
can hear
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 you.
me?
you.
Yes,
We
we
can
can hear
hear
you.
you.
Okay, well, a pox on your house, sir, for leaving me in the waiting room.
We have to
while
have
y'all
we know
talk.
I
we
just
had to have a
I just like
little
to
me
say
time.
that I would just like to say that I had no idea you've been sitting in the waiting room all that time. I'm just gonna
She
put that
probably
out
was
there.
playing with her
I'm just
nipples or
talking
something.
back to y'all and really having a full-fledged conversation. And it's like you are backstage.
But I but I appreciate you for spending your, Valentine's Day with us. Um,
Yes, in the midnight hour.
Look at that. You got two Valentines today. Look at that. Won't he
I
do
and won't look, and I didn't even know. And
it?
I ain't had a one, and all of a sudden,
You got to.
And I got a special
yes,
gift. I'm just going, we're going to talk afterwards, but I got a special gift for you because I know, you don't want to be obligating people time on holidays and such. I just finished talking about that and then I did it and shit. Uh,
oh,
but how you
but
doing? How you doing otherwise?
I am taking it one day at a time. I
Okay.
can't complain.
Oh, this lady.
These COVID times are something else.
Ooh. Yes.
They
Yes.
are really something else. So I am discovering things about myself,
Uh-huh.
even down to the little things like eating home more, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, I have to fill the fridge. We're going to get these produce boxes popping.
Okay.
Things that you don't have time for when
Yeah.
COVID was not here because it was run, 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 run. So I am trying to enjoy the good and you
I feel
know,
you. I'm trying not to. I
send the
think
negative the other direction.
yeah, I'm trying not to let my old man like totally take over because I'm finding myself being like an old man. I went to the store today and I was going to get a snack, and I came back with rubbing
Oh, I
alcohol,
saw that.
Epsom salt,
I saw that
and
post.
a case of water. And I was like, and I ain't had nothing else. And I was like, what the fuck was on my mind?
You
You
said,
was
"Who
thinking
am
about being
I?"
hydrated and probably taking a relaxing bath.
Yeah, but I'm
That's
just
all I
getting
could
it
think
just
That
about.
to be
Epsom
getting
salt to
it.
change your
That
life.
Epsom salt and that
Yeah.
alcohol, yeah.
That Teal brand, I'm gonna have to get a sponsorship from them. I'm
Oh,
gonna
Dr.
give it to them.
Teals, yes,
Yeah,
no, for real.
So
They
you
got
yeah,
the
needed some. You knew exactly what you was thinking about. You needed some relaxation.
yeah. But I
mm,
already have some, so I'm like stocking up on it, making sure I got, making sure I got the
hmm
rest of it. So I was a little when I got in the house and I set the stuff on the counter. I had to just walk away from it because I was like, I don't know what the hell. I just spent like 20 minutes in the market doing what, preparing for aches and pains and hydration.
exactly. Just in case.
Right,
Well, you
exactly.
know how it is with the weather. You get older, they say that you can feel it in your bones.
Mm.
Maybe you knew it was coming
I'm not
on.
there yet. I'm not. That's
God
what I'm
is
trying
trying
to.
to tell you
Right.
something.
I'm trying to keep up with it.
Mm.
But we
You
have
better.
All
a
right, Miss
great
Jiggetts, tell us.
show. Go ahead.
Oh, Miss Jiggetts, how was your Valentine's Day?
Oh, you know what? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh
Uh
my
oh.
goodness.
I hear a story
Y'all,
coming.
I had a bomb Valentine's Day. Let me tell you what.
Mm.
My brother said, "What do you want to eat?" And I
Oh,
said, "Brother, I would like a pot roast. I've been wanting a pot roast for so long."
oh, that do
I
sound
said, "I want a
good.
pot roast." So when I tell you my brother made a pot roast with the carrots and the
I
potatoes
was
and the
about to say that.
onions and the yeast rolls, oh my goodness. And so it was me, my brother, his kids, Truth, my parents, and we all just had a wonderful time.
That sound
And I
good.
got to
That
do
sounds
some
good.
laundry. So it was just a win-win all around,
All
awesome
around.
Valentine's
Gotta take
Day.
home
That
plate and
sounds good.
everything. I hear you.
I do. I got to take home bowl of the juices here. I'm not playing.
How
You
does
Yeah.
had
he
to
how
have
did
a
he do
separate bowl.
how does he do his pot roast?
He put that number in a Dutch oven.
Okay.
Ooh. So
Mm,
it's just
okay.
falling apart.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. There it
Oh.
is. That's
Right.
it. That's
See,
the
I do
I'm
mine
ticket.
a
in the
grown
slow
person
cooker.
now.
Mm,
8 hours in the slow
mm.
cooker for me.
And I
But
really
the
said I
Dutch
need to
oven will
try to
definitely
do
do
one
it.
myself.
It's not hard. It's just a season, and once you get your taste of your seasonings, it's a crock pot or a Dutch. You good. You good.
Well, Nate, that is Nate's.
I
You
know. I'm
know, and I
sorry.
say it all the time. God has blessed me in all the other rooms of the home, but the kitchen,
But the
okay?
kitchen, but the
I
kitchen.
can make my way through every other room
But I'm telling you,
very well.
set that laptop up, put on some YouTube, and it'll give you from point A to point B. I'm. You saying pot roast? It got my mouth watering because I haven't had outside of chicken every now and again. I haven't had any meat like it's, and I'm
That pot roast
trying.
made my day. And I'm gonna tell you
Right.
what made me want the pot roast because I had some tacos
Oh.
and they changed my life. So, so I just have been but I'm getting better in the kitchen. I am, like I said, being at home, having to cook. So I am doing
Yeah.
more. But I have yet to tackle the pot roast on my own, and
You can do it. You can do it. You can do
oh,
it.
I have total faith in myself. But I also know that, there are people in the world that will do it for you.
Oh
And
yeah,
shout
it's
out
always
to my
somebody.
brother who came through with the
Right.
pot
You better
roast.
go
Come through,
ahead. You better
brother.
go ahead and get
Brother
catered while
Jiggetts.
it's here.
Right.
Yes,
Come through, brother
Catering
Jiggetts.
while it's here.
But
exactly.
it didn't. I tried to do something romantic for myself, and Netflix has
Oh,
a new component where you can like watch with somebody else, like
I
go
Oh
heard
on
yes,
about
and
the viewing
that.
party. The viewing
yeah, the
parties.
viewing
Yes,
party,
Disney
right?
Plus also
I'm gonna
Yes,
tell you, life is
has viewing
something.
party.
right. So
Yeah.
I watched a couple movies, got dinner ordered, and
It's
watched the movie, watching
beautiful.
each other. Like that's I tried, but that was my first line of contact because I don't really trust a lot of people in these Rona streets. So I'm just trying to get it together. But thankfully, we got the Binge Worthy podcast to keep us a little company. And tonight,
Exactly, because it's just me and Truth in this number. It
So
is
so Miss Jiggins,
just.
you didn't do anything romantic for the day.
Let me tell you something. I don't even know. I don't even know what romantic is anymore. I don't know the last time
oh,
um
oh,
uh,
Crazy.
that there was any romantic times. For real, I am in
mm,
full COVID.
yes,
If you wasn't
stealth
here
mode.
before, if you don't know me by now, you will never never know
Mm-mm.
me. So
Never,
I
never,
am
never.
yeah. So no, I am just guarded. It's really not the time to be out there skinning and grinning.
Oh, not skinning and
Skinning and
grinning.
grinning.
Yeah, it's not. So no,
Oh,
I am
oh,
all chill on that. But I can tell you that I love myself,
oh. Okay, okay.
and
Okay.
I
That's
will
the way
love
to go.
myself. Post binge worthy podcast, and
Okay,
it's still gonna be a great Valentine's. Don't get it twisted. I am
don't
not
get it
telling a
twisted.
sad story
I
Cause
hear
she
by
got
that.
her
any means.
juices. She got
I
her
hear that.
So
juices.
yes, I
And
know
she,
me.
Oh yeah, you do got the juices. That's
she
And
right.
got
she
the
is
juice.
good. She is good. So
Maggie
no, so
loves
that
some
is
pot roast.
yes,
All right. So
the romance.
before we jump into this, I do have one more question for you. So did you
For
hear? Did you? I don't know if you were able to hear us. I guess you were because you said you were responding. Did you hear the part where we talked about is it Galentine's Day or Galentine's Day? Are
well, let
you
me tell you
familiar with
this.
that?
I am only familiar with it this year.
Okay.
I have never heard of this stuff. Can I curse? Is this
Yeah, go ahead. Do
No,
your
yeah, you
is
thing.
can
this
curse.
Go
PG?
ahead.
I just want
Go
to make
ahead.
sure before
No,
I get into
this
it.
is
It's adult
mature.
only. Yeah, mature
Because
adult.
I'm about to drink a glass of Merlot, and I
Go,
might
Go
get
ahead,
loose. Get
get
loose.
loose.
Get
yes. Once
loose.
you get the Merlots all up,
So I was saying that I thought that it was just, my normal misogynistic ignorance that
Mm,
women have been doing this for a while, and I just happened to
they be
notice
making
this
up
year.
stuff.
Is this something new?
like I said, this is the first that I've heard of it, and
Okay,
I
I
do
don't feel
happen
so
to be
bad
a
then.
woman.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
uh,
Okay.
Now, I will also say that, women have been doing their own thing. This is the first time that I've heard the name. I've heard of women getting together, on Valentine's to celebrate themselves and life
Right.
in
Right.
general. But no, with the title, this is the first time that I've heard it. But I do know several people that went to events under the
Oh,
name, so it is a thing, and people will make stuff up, and I'm here for
yeah,
it because we supposed to make our own traditions. I'm
yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
for creating what works
I
for
mean,
our
it looks
now.
they look very nice. I mean, from what I saw,
Yeah, the people look
that was
happy.
they exactly they looked happy. They were not socially distanced at all. I didn't.
Well, it
There was
wasn't a
very
lot of
very
that.
little. There was very little mask wearing, but
That's
they
why my ass was in the house because once you get a beverage in you, it is very hard to
right
Yeah.
remain.
to maintain and right those
And I've
guidelines.
tried it.
Yeah,
I've tried it, and it does not work. Like I gotta go. Like I want to hug. I
Yeah.
want
we
to talk.
social
I want
animals.
to
Yes,
be
yeah,
there. And when I can't, it's like, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to stay home. Thank you.
hmm
Yeah, it's a little tricky. I've tried it a couple times, and
Yeah.
like you said, once like the fifth person come, you like,
And
so,
then you get home, and I be feeling guilty and thinking in my mind all the people I touch,
and
and
that's
it's
what
just
the
a
Epsom
terrible
salt.
torture.
That's what the Epsom salt and the rubbing alcohol was for. I guess that's what my mom was thinking. In case
yo,
I run into somebody and I feel dirty afterwards. So
Exactly. I'm
yeah,
disinfecting everybody. I am laying it down. It is not a
right.
game round these parts. Mama is not playing.
So
yeah.
let's get it started. This is the biopic, the traditional biopic, the origins of biopic
The
episode.
biopic.
And I tried to pick some that was really good in terms of what it looked like, what it sounded like, the spectacle of it all. And we have a few, actually six. We have some old ones, we got some not so old ones, and we got some brand spanking new ones. Uh,
Hey.
and, and I wanted to just make sure I wanted to be educational this month, but still, a little entertaining. But I'm gonna start with the most educational one, and that one is the Little Rock Nine,
Mm.
and that was one
Well,
of the
that's the
oldest
one.
ones.
That's the actual biography, right? Yeah, and
Well,
that's
it
the
was
actual.
done.
I'm sorry, not biography, but documentary.
Well, it's actually it was shot as a movie, but it was more of a documentary because it didn't really go into any great detail, and it really, literally, it didn't give any real backstories. It
Mm.
only gave a little bit of information about the adult character that was mostly in the movie, and that's Miss Daisy May. She was the president of the NAACP in real life in Little Rock,
Hmm.
Arkansas, and she acted as like the caretaker for those nine. The movie
Mm.
left out a lot of details. So apparently, around that time, so you would have to watch a lot of the interview with a lot of the members, and this is a photo of a lot of them now. I think two of them have passed away so far, but that was the original nine right there, and I think two of them have passed away since like uh, I guess I don't know when. It didn't really tell when, but it didn't tell you that it was hundreds of students who signed up for it, and they whittled that down to like 39 who showed up to a informational meeting with the school board that gave them a
Hmm.
list of rules, and from that 39, only nine showed up the day of. And they didn't go. They didn't get the movie tells you that it does. They didn't get to go to school that first day, and it fails to tell you that it took almost 3 weeks for them to actually
Yeah, they had
go
to
to
send in the
school.
troops.
Right. The president actually wound up sending in uh,
Yeah, federal troops because
federal.
Yep.
it was the governor who was like
Yep.
keeping them out.
Yep.
No, the governor was like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, another big thing that they missed from the movie was that first year because it was so much going on. The governor of that state actually closed down all the high schools in Little Rock, Arkansas, for a whole school year. So a lot of students, the original nine out of the original nine, only three of them actually graduated from the school because the year
Yep.
after the first year, about four of them they transferred, and one was expelled. And then when they came back after that year, he literally closed down the schools to prevent them from being integrated. Like he was dead ass serious. Like we are not
Yeah.
integrating,
Oh
and
yeah.
he had to be forced to actually open back up the high schools.
Yeah.
That
So
is so crazy. Like
Go ahead.
No, that is just insane. And that's not so far in the past.
No, nope.
No,
That's
not
like
at
some of
all.
our parents. Most of our parents would have been these people's ages,
Yep.
or grandparents right now. But that's
Because most of them are still alive. So it
yeah.
is definitely in our lifetime.
Yep. Yep.
Like,
We could have touched some of them. Like, a lot of them worked for Clinton, because Clinton came from Little Rock, Arkansas. A lot of them worked for them or the school
Mm,
system,
mm.
or in some governmental
Message.
capacity. Yep. Even the ones that did not graduate, because the ones that didn't graduate, one of them was expelled that first couple months of school, that first year, and the rest of them, when that gap year happened for them, um, they just went off to other schools. I guess their parents
yeah,
was like,
because
"You're not
like so they all graduated. They just
they didn't
graduated
graduate
from.
from only three of the original, and then when they came back, three additional ones joined them. So really, only six people graduated on that cycle. But yeah, you have to, if you get a chance, just watch a lot of interviews. Oprah did a really good interview with most of them, and where she brought back some of the people, some of the students that went to school with them, some of the faculty, and some of the other students that went with them, and most of them showed up for that one. It was a good interview, but
Mhm.
I didn't realize how hard it was outside of the movie because I hadn't watched any interviews. But the movie did a really good job of just giving the facts. It wasn't about their personal lives. It just stuck to the story of them trying to get into the school.
Yeah.
But watch a lot of if anybody is listening, you want to learn more, watch on YouTube. There are a lot of interviews with various groups of the original nine. But the Oprah one was tough because there's a infamous photo that I couldn't download because it wasn't a free photo
Hmm.
of that image with the young lady with the glasses on, and you see like a mob of people around her.
Now the Ruby
Yes,
Bridges,
with
Yeah.
right?
the
So that young
no.
lady,
What was her name?
I gotta find her name.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna find it right now.
But that was the young lady. It was a white young lady who was like famous for that yelling picture that she took that she was behind her. So she came
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
show.
She showed up.
Yeah, she showed up to the show, and they were very. You can tell they were just children. A lot of those people were just children. And what I found out in watching a lot of the interviews, a lot of that mob wasn't even people from Little Rock. These were people
Mm,
from
yep.
all other places, like
Nah,
we seeing right now,
yeah.
that came and just joined the mob. And then a
Hmm.
bunch of the children just was in the moment. But that's how you know children aren't born racist. It's just they learn what they see
Oh, they
and then they imitate
absolutely. It's absolutely taught.
it. Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because this happened in Arkansas, and to us, it just seems absolutely wild and ridiculous that you would shut school down for a year
Mm-hmm.
for all high schoolers to keep from
Yeah.
integrating. And then one of the other films we're going to talk about is set in Mississippi. And
Yeah.
like, yo, when you start to research some of this stuff and you start to really learn uh beyond kind of like what I like to call the cookie cutter history that they teach
Yeah.
you in school,
Mm-hmm.
yo, you start to realize, yo, like just how insane like shit really was, and especially in the South. And I don't want to ever point the South out
Right.
as if it's the only I think some people get disillusioned, like, oh, it was better up north. It was
Mm-mm.
different. It wasn't better. It was just a different type of
Right.
Hmm.
I think
animosity
all
and
of us
whatnot. But
are.
down in the South, I gotta give it to them.
Yeah. They kept
Yo,
it going.
they were wild, son. Like
Yeah.
if y'all ever get a chance and you can find this on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
there is a video about the Daughters of the Confederacy.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is still a
Ooh,
group right now.
yo. So I had no idea, right? I didn't know who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And this is before women could vote. This
Yeah.
is before women could hold political office.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
After the Civil War, the Daughters of the Confederacy, these white, middle class, rich women
Yeah.
pooled together,
Mm-hmm.
got their husbands to cut them checks. Yo,
Yep.
they are the sole reason why history is taught the way it is
Distorted.
in the South.
Yep.
Right. So like there's a textbook that was being taught in Southern history classes up until like the late 1970s that was commissioned by the Daughters of the Confederate. All of those monuments that we fighting about now that are coming down in the South.
Yep.
They put
The
them up.
Daughters of the Confederacy commissioned all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like they're responsible for like 90% of the Confederate monuments and statues and memorials that exist below the Mason-Dixon line.
Yep. And probably above.
That's what they're most known for.
Right.
What a lot of people don't know is, they literally petitioned to have a whole history textbook like written specifically for Southern students. So when we talk about like the Trump supporters today, the protesters during the Little Rock 9, the all the white folks that was out there during the sit-ins and whatnot, that's how they kept that legacy going, Like they have textbooks that painted the Confederacy as just this like noble cause that they just got beat. You know what I mean? Like, but it like they teach it as if it's something to be proud of. That this is why they still wave that flag.
But
and it literally lasted like 5 years.
Right.
Yeah. It was not no whole huge chunk of time to hold on to.
Well, I don't know about that because it was a war. And we, I think our generation, like we are accustomed to wars lasting like 8, 9, 12 years, but that's a recent thing. 5 years is a long time.
But they're not on,
like
but it's not here, so we don't really feel it like that because it's not on our soil.
On our soil, yeah.
That was here on this soil.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of
5 years of fighting is a significant amount of time. But I get what Tracie is saying in the sense that in the grand scheme, like the Confederacy only existed for like this short amount of time.
Right. And you still waving the flag like.
Well, here's the thing about it. Like it sounds ridiculous, but then when you find out that they have been raised like even in their education system, right? Like there were things I learned in history class or in school in general as a child that if it wasn't for the fact that they were flat out lies or there were avenues for me to understand
to learn something different.
It was bigger than this. I would not know that, right? Like there was a long time where I really thought that Christopher Columbus discovered America.
Right. But that's the way they teach. And I always tell the story, like in high school, I got 1 day of slave history, because that's basically what it was. And my 20-some-year-old history teacher told me slavery wasn't as bad as we made it out to be. Why would you beat your slave? That's like beating your farm equipment. That's like beating up on your tractor. Why would you bruise your? And in my mind, and that was what, the 10th grade, and it made my head hurt. Like because it was out loud, and I'm looking around the classroom, and it's just a bunch of white boys laughing because he just debunked what we all were taught from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that one little hour and a half class, he just changed all of American history for all those white boys in that class. And how many other people did he tell that same anecdote to?
Right.
So and most of us here, even up north, the three of us are about the same age. So we're just probably one generation from segregation. And like Emerson High School, if you are from Baltimore familiar, Emerson High School was for white students. It wasn't,
let me tell you,
Baltimore, Western, all them, probably.
Baltimore, over the past 10 years of me really kind of learning the racist history of Baltimore City.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like I lived on McCullough Street for about almost 3 years. And so to read that book, Not in My Neighborhood, and understand why McCullough Street is McCullough Street, why everything to the west of McCullough Street looks one way, and everything to the east of McCullough Street between McCullough Street and Gwynns Falls looks
Mm-hmm.
another way.
Yep.
I was like, bro, like,
I think it was Fulton Avenue. It was at Fulton. It's like that median strip, and that was there specifically because on one side the Jewish people
and then
live,
right,
and on
and
the
then
other side the
Fulton
black
Street is a
people.
whole nother story, right?
Yep.
Like, yo,
The
like
black butterfly is
find
real.
that black
Hmm.
butterfly is real, and I got that book. I was already in my list to buy. I just got it through my job. It's like our little reading activity for the month before our
Hmm.
next staff meeting. And I can't wait to get into that because I know
Yes, for
that
having adults
my mind
read.
even
Thank you,
further.
Principal.
Uh,
I said thank you for having the adults read.
oh, oh, yes, yes.
Oh yeah, but
It's
no,
more.
you that's why when people continue to say, we got to forget about it, we got to move on.
Don't.
I don't think they understand how generational it is. And
Yeah.
especially for a person of color in Baltimore, you're
Hmm.
talking about locked out of real estate
Yep.
in a way that is insane, like paying double
Yeah.
that you'll never be able to pay off. Putting it's just crazy how predatory.
Yeah. And it's still
Just
currently in the same system. We've gotten a couple steps ahead, but for the greater part of the problem, it's still there, and people
Yeah.
not understanding. So that first one was Little Rock Nine. Is definitely something I would show the children so they can
yeah,
see significance and the importance of education and how and why a lot of teachers are so adamant about them learning and parents too about them learning because it was one time where they couldn't go to school where they wanted to go to school. The whole idea of zoning schools
exactly.
a racist thing because it kept you in your neighborhood. And the school that was depicted in this is a real school. And many of those students lived around that area and were bused outside of that area, and this was a brand new school. It was kind of the equivalent of what our smart schools are now, and it was had all these architectural awards and such. And
Hmm.
the black students couldn't go there,
Mm.
and it was the best school in Little Rock. It was only 4 high schools in Little Rock, and most of the schools they had to be bussed out to go outside of their neighborhood to go to school, and that's why they were asked, did they want to go there because they had just lifted the ban, and the Supreme Court had just ruled that it was unconstitutional for them to be segregated in schools. But it's definitely something I think you should show your children, or if you teach, show your class. It's very appropriate. But that was the Little Rock Nine. The next
Little
one,
Rock Nine, shout out.
was
Oh,
uh
Mississippi.
many people hated this one because it came out in the movies. Many people hated it because the lead character that you see right in the center, uh, uh, it was more so about him than it was Medgar Evers or his wife, Miss Evers, and it really was
Hmm.
about him and the Bekowitz character. And it kind of, the underlying story was about Medgar Evers, but it was about him and his relationship and it. So a lot of people didn't like the movie coming out. So it wasn't a very popular biopic when it came out. But
What'd you think?
um, I I hated it for that reason because we didn't really learn anything new about Medgar Evers, and it kind of perpetuated that whole five black heroes thing because it was an opportunity for them to really give a lot of historical information on Medgar Evers. He wasn't that old of a man when he died, so for him to lose his life and be shot the way he was shot in his back by the Bekowitz character. Well, he's not a character; that was a real man. And then he not even be charged with it, and they had to come back decades later, almost 30 years later, to even get him charged and convicted with the crime. And that lasted a little bit longer because then he kept appealing it. But he was probably an old man before he was actually tried and convicted and sentenced to jail for the death of Medgar Evers. It didn't really give a lot of information on Medgar Evers himself.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know who he was, what he really did. We just know he was a historical character. If you didn't know him before, this
Yeah,
movie didn't really
you
help
didn't
you to
learn a
learn.
lot about him specifically
Mhm.
outside of the basics that he was.
Right.
because it focused on the trial
Yeah.
And
and
the
bringing
lawyer.
him to justice. So it was definitely focused on the white savior. It
Yeah.
was the wife. The wife was a driving force.
Yeah. But
Shout
they
out, shout
she was
out
in
to
it less than any of the other characters. I think she had maybe like 4 scenes. That
Hmm.
was it.
yeah. No, it wasn't saturated.
Yeah.
At
But I
all.
mean, the movie is called Ghosts of Mississippi, and I think the title itself speaks to the subject matter. I would have like I don't think this was really a film about Medgar Evers. I think this was a film, if you really look at it in its entirety,
Mhm.
it's really a film that speaks to the responsibility of like whiteness to get their shit together and correct their own wrongs.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
when you really look at it, it focused very little on Medgar Evers. It puts this lawyer front and center. Um,
yeah, but
who
we talking about his love life, he getting divorced and getting remarried. We see all of that.
uh-huh.
But we don't see anything about Medgar Evers other than what Whoopi Goldberg talks
Mhm.
about in her scenes, which are very few compared to, the wife that he left and got remarried. We see more scenes with her than we see with the wife of Medgar Evers or Medgar Evers himself. And
Well,
and I
I mean,
get it.
if you look at it from like just let's look at it from a realistic perspective, you could make the narrative choice to
Mhm.
focus part of the film on Merle Evers, right,
Right.
and give Whoopi more screen time. Um, but I don't know if this movie is about the trial and the process of bringing this guy to justice.
Hmm.
Not sure if that serves the moving forward of the plot, right? I actually, I would have
Which
loved.
is a problem.
First of
Which
all,
is my problem
let
with
me
it.
say this. We need to give Whoopi all her flowers, like while
Mhm.
she's still here.
I
She's
agree.
phenomenal, and there was some things that she did in the little bit of screen time that she had
Right.
that I just thought really like it wouldn't have been the same film without her. I actually liked the film. I
Yeah.
thought the courtroom scenes were pretty weak, but I think when you're working from real life, sometimes you just don't have a whole lot to work with. Uh,
Hmm.
so I think that the court scenes were boring because when you really put things into perspective, the only difference was that like, they had all this evidence. They had all of
You
these.
can
They
scoot
knew
her.
who this guy was the first two times he was tried. The only difference
Yeah.
is that you don't have an all white male, potentially racist jury to
But
just let him scot
I
free.
would
And
have
that was 30 years later.
That was 30
right.
years later. So my thing with the film what about when it came to that is like in real life, right? Like you're as an assistant DA, um, you would keep the family informed, which he
Mhm.
did, but there wouldn't have been a whole lot of interaction between him and the wife as he moved forward trying to figure out how
And
he
and
could
and
bring
I
this
get
case.
that. I get that, but that makes this movie just another courtroom show and not a biopic for
Well, that's
me.
what I'm saying. Well,
But
then
I would have
argue
even
that it might not be a
I was
biopic.
going to say that
right.
I don't think they advertised it as a
Yeah,
Well,
like
it was called the
Medgar Evers.
but that's what it was. That's what it was marketed as, the Mega Ever story. That's what it, and that's when I first saw this. That was
mhm,
the frustrating part to me because I was saying, well, maybe we should have saw some flashbacks to the original trial and maybe the second trial where it would
right.
have given a little bit more information on Mega Evers and some information, things other people talking about it. So a lot of those people who had died in terms of witnesses, we would have seen flashbacks of them. They just
Mhm.
killed everybody off and made it so horrible for him, and then come to find out his father-in-law held the pivotal piece of evidence. Like
Hmm.
so, I mean, it was marketed as the Mega Ever story, and it was
No,
just
I did not know that. I didn't know that
yeah,
it was marketed as the Mega Ever story,
mhm,
and I was familiar with this film.
right,
I may have seen it. I couldn't remember if I felt like I may have seen it. I
mhm,
wasn't 100% sure, but I never I
It
never
was in
walked
the
into
theater.
it feeling like I was about to learn. Like when I walked into Malcolm X, I knew I was about to learn some stuff about Malcolm X that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
I never walked into this particular film with that expectation about Medgar Evers. Like from the
right.
trailer, from the marketing material that I saw, it seemed that it was going to be focused on the trial of Medgar Evers, like getting justice for him.
Well,
After
the
the
issue
killer
with
had kind of
the
gone free.
significance about Medgar Evers, he wasn't a lawyer for very long. He wasn't a civil rights activist very long. And he had
No,
a
I mean,
very short life
still
as an
young,
actual
right?
activist.
Like he was still very young.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he didn't really have a long life like a Malcolm or Martin or Huey P. Newton, and one of them. He didn't really have a long life in this. So I think that would be their argument. It wasn't a lot of information on him, but there were no, like flashbacks of him giving speeches, or he was very pivotal in the,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
and what's his name? The young boy that was killed at the time. Oh, I can't think of his
Emmett
name.
Till.
He
Emmett
was
Till.
right. He was very pivotal in Emmett Till's case.
Mhm.
So none of that information,
Right.
was included in it, or we have a story about Thurgood Marshall. There was a lot of historical connections to his life, and Ali. There was a lot of historical connections to it. And I'm not saying. I'm just saying when white people tell our story, this is what happens. They like Tracie just said.
Uh, I don't know. I don't know if I can
They
always
become
agree
the
with that. I
hero in
mean,
the story.
Ali is
And then,
directed by Michael Mann, I think. Like, I'm not sure who directed Marshall. We know Malcolm X was directed by Spike Lee, but most of
yeah.
some of the more, Ray was directed by Tyler Hackford. Like, you know, you choose a director.
hmm
I'm not sure if you. I don't know if you can lay it all at the director's feet.
hmm
I just think that this movie was. I think this movie was less of a traditional biopic more than it.
Right.
Like I think the focal point of this particular movie was more
Was the white people.
Yeah.
about the white folks. It really was. Like
Mm-hmm.
It felt like
it
it
was
was the
about the
lawyer.
white people and their relationship to this injustice. It was
Yeah.
a clear injustice. I think
Yeah.
it was more about them. And I mean, while it's not going to be as moving for me, but I would hope that there were white people out there that saw this film and was like, "Damn, I really need to get my act." You know, uh,
Right.
Well, also note that there are the films that you named, Marshall, Ali. This
hmm
it wasn't called Medgar.
right?
Right. Right.
It
That's
was literally Ghost of Mississippi. So it was talking about the bringing up all of the old skeletons that they had hidden.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was just the case. It just felt like he was the case in this,
Exactly.
I get what
and
you're saying because
that
we
was the
we see
whole.
this argument a lot. Like we don't
Mhm.
want to see whiteness focused in our stories, and
Yeah.
that's a valid argument at times too. I don't think that it applies to everything. It is
Yeah.
certainly a valid argument. I'm just not sure if it's a good one for this one because I think that this movie was really more about the white folk.
Yeah. I
And
can tell.
whiteness is a huge part of our story.
Right. And that was probably the intention going into it. Let's tell the story from this perspective of the third lawyer who handled this case. Like that's that.
30 years later, like it finally
That's
happened.
also the lawyer that got the conviction. So like, let's not just paint him off as like, like the third lawyer, like it's insignificant. Like
Right.
he was the lawyer when no one else felt like it was worth taking up the case again.
hmm
He was
hmm
the lawyer that got the conviction. That guy died in jail. Like
Hmm.
that guy who killed Medgar Evers, he died in prison.
He did.
Like, and I
Now,
get it. Like for
acting
30 years,
wise,
he got away with it, but he
right,
died in like 2008.
you're right.
So,
Now
he
I'm
spent
gonna tell you in terms of acting. When I saw this Vert at a young age, and so when I saw this, the guy who played the murderer, I hated him in every other thing I've
bet
ever
you
seen
did.
him.
I bet you did.
Literally, I never liked him in anything, even when he wasn't the bad guy,
Yep.
because he did such a great job doing this. And my question is, whenever there's a movie like this, I'm always wondering about the
Always in
who
the
that
back of your
person really is in
mind.
real life. Like how because you were too good at
That's how I felt when I saw Django. I was like,
oh,
they got to be getting a kick out of throwing nigga around so freely. The,
right.
the gang members in that shit, like the way they was throwing nigga around, I was just like, even though I recognized it, like
Well,
I
that's Quentin's thing. He loves that.
Yeah. Yeah.
that is
He
his
loves the thing. He loves nigga, nigga, nigga. He wants to. Ooh, he
Yeah.
lives for it.
Right.
like, but you know what, I respect him for living for it because like I don't know, like a lot of people think that Quentin Tarantino is racist, and I think that Quentin Tarantino just really be giving us the inside window on what really be going on,
I think
like
he
in
was.
closed spaces where it's just white folk.
I think he grew up racist
And
and he got a nice piece of black tail one time that just turned his whole life around. I just think that's what happened to him. And
yeah,
he just loved him.
Mm-mm.
I just love him. I just love him.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. It ain't love.
It
it ain't
ain't
what,
love.
nah,
It
That
ain't
ain't
love.
love.
I
That
don't
ain't
know.
love. He don't say it for love.
If that's what it is, that ain't love.
It
But
ain't.
I will say that, like, I think part of the reason why Quentin Tarantino has been so popular is because of there is a level of authenticity in his crazy ass work, and
Yeah.
I think part of it is in his work has always been dialogue heavy. And like, yo, if you thinking like, like the first Quentin Tarantino movie I think I saw was Reservoir Dogs, and like I was not offended by the N word in that movie because those white men in real life sitting around a table where there's no black people around, I'm absolutely sure the nigga got dropped. And
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
I've
think that
never
that's
been
something that
offended
we should
by it.
hide. I don't think that's something that we should hide behind. And I think that some people would prefer that we just never have movies with the word nigga in it, especially when it's spoken by white people. And I'm just like, until we have a real world where that's happening, like
Right.
I'm gonna always respect films that are truthful.
Well,
And
when they're right, especially when they're period pieces, you can't help but to avoid those words because that was just the
Oh
language.
yeah.
But it still stings a little bit.
yeah,
I've learned
no,
not to.
it stings.
Yeah.
It stings. I will
So I
not argue
want
with that.
everybody to see this image is of Medgar Evers because most people don't even know what he looks like. Or
Yes. He was
really know.
37
Yes.
when he was assassinated.
Hmm. And it's like I just like I love the film, but I like as I watched it as I grew up, I just wanted it to be more about his story or them to create something that's more about his story. And many of the people like him who don't get their story told, who were
Hmm.
it's a dash in our history. So
I
uh
would love to see a film like about Medgar Evers.
mhm. It's probably coming with all the movies, especially some of the ones that we have in here. It's coming. You just have to get the right person, not Tyler, to really just hold on to it and tell the story from a real accurate
Said
position.
not Tyler.
I had to put that. Sometimes you gotta.
Yo, can we leave Tyler Perry alone?
We can. That's what I'm saying. Leave him alone.
Well,
He
leave him
can't
alone.
do everything. So
Say that's it.
the next one, I actually just watched this one for the first time. So this one is fresh in my mind, but Marshall, um, and it was a pretty good story. I like what I like and the dislike. It was one of those centered around a trial, so you got to see him do his work. But it was one of the trials where a Jewish man did the work and he didn't do the work. You didn't see him in a court case. So it was another perspective, but once again, the white man prevailed and became the hero.
Well, when you talk about wanting more, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you spoke about wanting more in Ghost of Mississippi,
Uh-huh.
but Marshall is actually titled Marshall.
Yeah,
And Thurgood is one of my peoples. Let me
yeah.
say that. Thurgood, as far as history, the house he was born in on Division Street, I know it well.
Yeah.
His family owned a store on Dolphin.
Hmm.
Understanding and studying him, and when there's a film called Marshall, and literally none of his past
None of it.
Is so you talk about wanting more of his life. I feel like in this film I deserved a little bit more. The case was great, and
Yeah.
it was, I understand, for movie wise, but when you talk about wanting more of someone's life when it's actually titled them, I did want a little bit more, but it was
Yeah.
good.
It showed us the time
I
that he
agree.
got great in. He wasn't quite an old man, so um he wasn't yet the Supreme Court justice. He wasn't a judge yet. So it was like his early years. I think he was like in his 30s in this movie. But again, like, why this was the only case that was pivotal in his life that you could, where he had to play second fiddle. The man literally told him, "You can sit there, but don't talk."
Who do we
Oh
know
yeah,
who?
and it was
I
hard.
didn't look it up. Do we know who directed this movie?
No,
Because
I don't.
I think I think I might know why. I've been noticing that there's certain movies that seem to take historical figures and place them in a specific moment in time, and like let that be the story as opposed to a true
Hmm.
biopic. And I wonder if because black people have become much more vocal about what we find to be acceptable and what we don't find to be acceptable, and
It
really
was the black man.
standing in that power. um or maybe, like I was wondering because I noticed in this one. So this probably, yeah, this is
Reginald
done by
Hood.
Reginald Hudlin.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who that is. um but I wonder if, like, if you're gonna tell a one of our men or women's life story,
hmm,
and because we know that everyone is flawed,
right.
I think people are reluctant to touch some of our heroes when it comes to kind of telling their story in a
Accurately.
total way, and
Well,
especially if you
I
white.
saw Lawrence Fishburne do a one man show on Broadway of Marshall,
Uh
and that
huh.
hour and a half was packed with
Historical
Thurgood Marshall,
reference and his, like,
and it
his
was a
life
one man
story.
show. And he didn't play other characters; he played himself. Well,
So
he
it's
played
funny.
Thurgood.
It's funny because this is like a thing specifically with Chadwick Boseman. Um, this man, in the short time that he was here, has
Uh
portrayed Thurgood Marshall, James Brown,
huh.
and Jackie Robinson. And the funny thing about Marshall is that I thought Marshall was pretty good. I wouldn't put it on a level of like a Malcolm X, an Ali,
No,
a Ray,
Oh no, I wouldn't watch it
and
again.
none
no.
of his biographical movies are like that. And I was wondering why that is. Is
Well,
like I
I
don't think any of them
right,
are, and despite his talent, right? Because I thought he
right.
was amazing in all of them. But then these movies that he's done,
The
like,
story
you would think
itself.
that the James Brown biopic would have been huge,
Mm-mm.
right? Like it would have been on the level of Ali, of Ray,
Right.
the what's the one they did about Johnny Cash, right? Like
That
he,
was
like,
good.
you would have thought that these movies, right? Walk the Line was an excellent
Yeah.
film. Like you would have thought that these movies would have
Well,
been
I
in
think,
that caliber, and I've always been really strangely like wondering like
but
why were these films like so lackluster?
it's a difference when you pick up something and you just read the biography of someone versus you followed their career. Spike Lee was entrenched in who Malcolm X was.
Right.
We see certain stories where they was written from a biopic, but that director or producer was entrenched in who that person was, or that person's story was deeply researched. And
Mm.
these, it just, for you to write a movie, and the acting was great. I loved them. Him. I loved how they showed Thurgood Marshall in his earlier years already thinking about diversity, because that became his legacy as a lawyer and a judge, making things equal for everyone.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't want you to sit him in a courtroom for a whole movie and tell him shut up. And he can only write down, and that shows where we were. But then you make the judge the hero at the end because he makes one thing go a different direction than what his attitude was the whole movie. Like they softened him.
Mm-hmm.
And even the case, I understand the case, but this is the one thing that where a white woman lied and said a man raped her and she really was having sex with him.
But that's so real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That is
I mean,
so
I'm
real,
all
and that happened
for
more than we ever could imagine.
right.
yeah, yeah. But just the way it
I
was.
mean, Bill Burr wasn't lying. He said it best.
Mm.
And hey, truth.
I
Hello.
didn't know y'all heard him.
Oh
Okay, he
yeah.
said his hello. Yes.
So what I tried to do was try to at least find an image of the actual person so we know who these people are. Because a lot of people, I don't want them to think of Thurgood Marshall and Chadwick Boseman, but just have a better reference because something like this, it was if it was just a movie and it wasn't a Thurgood Marshall and it was just an actual court case, I think the movie would have been much better. We would have
Mm-hmm.
probably liked it more. Uh, Even though there was no consequences for this white lady lying about being raped. Um,
I mean, but there wasn't. I mean, like you had to keep in mind, you're like some of the things that you some of the gripes or the disagreements that you have with these films,
mhm.
like the films don't have no choice. Like they can't unless you just going like blatantly
Lie and change
recreate lie
history.
in your film. Like
Right.
this is reality. Like
Well,
white
because
women did
The
that,
bitch that lied on Emmett
and then
Till is still
and
walking around breathing air.
yeah,
yeah, she lives in Maryland. She lives
huh?
in Maryland. The lady who lied on Emmett Till, she lives in Maryland.
She's
Mm-hmm.
still walking around
Yeah, they
breathing
still
air.
walking
They don't
around.
get no the I mean they yes,
Yeah.
no, it is
So like that, I mean, that's that part of this. I feel like with biopics, like that's the thing. Like in real life, there's always gonna be things that you like. I can't believe this is happening, and if
The
you make a
story
film out
doesn't.
of it, like
The
the
story
film.
is truth, but when you create a film and it's only about that, that's when
Mhm.
I have a problem with it. You
Well,
know.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Nothing about the film made me feel like it wasn't real, like it wasn't authentic. Like whatever we didn't like about the film, like surely Thurgood Marshall didn't like about his life, right? Like not being able to speak in front of the judge and things
Mhm.
like that. But that's something that he really had to do. And I think the point of the film was to, in an effort to show his brilliance, um, it's like I think most people would have folded under that circumstance.
Right.
Thurgood Marshall is who he is because he was able to figure out a way to make himself
make
relevant
it
to the
work.
case, to make it work.
But I
And
want them to make better use of
while
2 hours though. Like I need
yeah,
I
like I
need more
get that,
impact.
Nate. I do. And honestly, I don't know from a film business perspective, like why some movies can take like I think a lot of what you said earlier plays into it, like the
Mhm.
directors and the producers really
Right.
digging into and kind of like dredging through the lives of the subject.
Right.
I think it also has a lot to do with like just budgets and like what you're able to tell. Most biopics are at least 2.5, 2:45 to 3 hours long.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I think there's certain constraints. So when you can't tell a man or woman's entire life, you pick a relevant point in that life that you want to exemplify, right? That is worthy of a 2 hour film. And I think that's what they did here.
Yes,
it's working.
And did it leave me wanting more specifically about him?
Yeah.
Yes. But also think about
I
how
wanted to see the
long.
next trial that he was doing. So I would
Mhm.
rather have seen this as a series than. And we were talking about that last season, like certain things that should have been a series versus just a one-off movie or
Yeah.
something. But yeah,
Well, I think most things should be a series.
yeah,
Like if you ask me, like I don't know if y'all saw Godfather of Harlem, but
yeah.
um, I'm enjoying that. Like I love Hoodlum. That's one of my favorite movies. But Godfather of Harlem,
Right.
It's good. It's good.
it's good. So yeah. But all in all, like I thought it was a good movie, Marshall. All in all.
So I'm
I wouldn't watch it again.
no. I learned that court case. That was cute.
Yeah,
Let's move on.
I don't think I would watch it again either.
Yeah.
Like if it was on in the waiting room.
It had a TV movie-ish feel.
Yeah.
Very after school specialish.
Yes, of course. And I'm noticing a lot about stuff. It feels like they're more so making it for the acting moment than the historical relevance of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part. Like, this not just a Chadwick Boseman movie. Like, he's great. He was great.
But
this actually happened. This is
right.
real life, and I feel like they're making movies now for the moment. Like for
they
the
are, but they are, and it's
moment.
not just and like here's the thing, Nate, and I totally get if because I know that there are people out there that's more focused on like us, and they may not know about, but like this is not something that's like relegated to just black films, like or films with black subjects, like historical figures. Like they just did a movie on Jackie Kennedy not too long ago. And it's all about like how she dealt with the assassination. It's like it's set over the course of like 2 weeks after the assassination of JFK, right? Like
I'm noticing that's a theme and stuff.
It's
now.
becoming a theme. Yeah,
they're kind of shrinking down the time period that a movie goes to, and I know that's a budget issue, but they're specifically talking about like I think the new Billie Holiday movie is going to be 1 week of her life, and that is encompassed with all these things happening to her within like a week and a half period or something. And that's cute. But
like everybody don't have a life that you want to follow through the whole thing, yo. Like
I was going to say sometimes it's about the story.
Yeah, like Malcolm X.
Remember that time we.
But why put it in like for me?
Go ahead,
why
Tracie.
put that in a movie though?
No, that's what I was saying. That's the remember that time we.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. Right. That was the point.
And
right?
it is just the story of this one time. Let me tell you about this time.
And I think
if you want to know more, it's up to you to find out.
Right. And I just think that like, you know, like there are some people's lives where like they are famous for a specific reason and point in time, right? Like a single.
But not Thurgood Marshall,
not Thurgood Marshall. But here's the thing though, like like I know Thurgood Marshall. First of all, like this case in this movie, I never heard about. I knew Thurgood Marshall. I knew that he was a lawyer, which means that Thurgood Marshall, over the course of his legal career, probably worked hundreds, if not, like hundreds of cases. Crossing, some would probably had race at the center of them, some didn't. Like he worked all types of cases. And then he gets to the landmark case, which is Brown versus Board of Education, right? Then he has more of a legal career where he's just doing the cases, like some of them racial, some of them just regular cases. And then he progresses to become the first Supreme Court Justice of the United States. That doesn't mean that those cases outside of like Brown versus Board of Education and a few here and there are actually so interesting that they would make good movies.
True.
I think Malcolm X. I think Malcolm X is a like sits in a different category, right? Because let's talk about Malcolm. Like Malcolm went from a really troubled childhood to being a gangster, going to prison, going through a transformation in prison, coming out, and then very rapidly moving up the echelons of the Nation of Islam to becoming its foremost spokesperson, right? Like that life in itself, that's a lot of interesting beats to hit.
Even his childhood, parents, his father,
like there was a lot there to delve into.
But we're saying that, but they aren't giving us movies about these other people to show that life. We're just assuming that nothing else about that life was interesting, and we just gonna focus
No,
on
I'm not. I'm
coming up
not.
that life.
I'm not assuming it. I'm just looking at it from a situation like, like JFK, right? Like there's no movie. JFK is probably one of the most beloved presidents in history. There's no movie that chronicles him from his childhood to his death. There's movies about the Cuban Missile Crisis. There's JFK, which is a movie about the trial of his assassination. You know what I'm saying? Like he's one of the most beloved figures in human history. Right. And there's never been a movie made about like his whole life. So it's not so much that I'm assuming, it's just that the evidence that I have, like who gets a whole life movie versus who doesn't, and knowing that it's not relegated to black people, right? Like it just leads me to believe that if you didn't get a movie that goes from like point A, you being a baby, to the end of your life, it's probably because your life, you are who you are because of a series of moments or a very finite period of time, which is fine. It just doesn't mean that it makes for good movies.
And I get that. I understand that, but I just want a little bit more of a well-rounded story. You don't have to chronicle someone's whole life, but I just want more of a story. And I don't want you to take my 2 hours and I'm watching Thurgood Marshall mouth instructions to his Jewish lead attorney. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want these types of films just so an actor can have a moment. I don't want that. Don't make it a biopic. You go write a whole different story then. Don't keep doing our history that way. In terms of just cutting it out and cut and pasting or making it about something that it shouldn't be a focus on. That's all I'm saying. I make a movie. Go ahead, make your movie, but stop doing biopics that way. That's why the selection of biopics this time was more so the ones that I thought were done well versus on the other side of that. And it's not about your whole life, but just tell us a well-rounded story. You have enough time within 2-3 hours for a biopic. This not a normal feature film or regular film. This is a biopic. So I want to know about this person, not what they did on Tuesday.
Gotcha.
Like I thought that's what the biopic was about, but even now we, don't. If I ever become rich and famous, please don't put me on Lifetime. I just want y'all to say that.
You don't want the Lifetime treatment, yeah.
I think all of our lives is worth more than a Lifetime movie. But the next one up is one of my favorites. And I sing this song damn near at least once. And that's Lean on Me, which many people based off of a real story of a real person. Most people don't know Joe Clark was an actual person who this
they don't
about. A lot of people it was just a movie to people.
The movie literally starts like this is a true story.
Yeah, but
it does come up in the words.
Yeah, but
no. I feel you though.
People, I think our age range, we know it was based off of when you're watching it now. Like I bootleg watched this.
Well, here's the thing. When Lean on Me came out, based on a true story, or this is a true story, or this is based on actual events, was not used as a marketing ploy. Like that's just what it meant.
Right. It was
Today, though, we see a lot of movies come out where they are intended to look like they are based on true stories, or this actually may have happened, and it's a marketing tool.
I'm gonna tell you, this one was the opposite of the first 3 we talked about, because this could have been a wild out movie, because Joe Clark, the real Joe Clark, got in trouble for doing some really crazy things.
Yeah,
crazy Joe.
Right, he got suspended for letting this group do a show at the school, and it was like a little risque because they were like stripping, almost like renting out the space. Like he got in trouble for. So this movie could have been real crazy. Yeah. But I like the direction they told, where it was a complete story, and it didn't tell us his childhood to when he died at the age of 82, a couple years ago.
I just told him to one school year.
Right.
I was going to say, it really was just 1 year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it felt like such a because it had so many different storylines in it, but it told a well-rounded story. It was his relationship with the children, his relationship with the parents, the fire, like it had a real
Yeah.
story behind it. It was a little bit weightier, but I am
Hmm.
glad they did not just take his life that was in the headlines and put it in this movie. Because the stuff that I've learned about him just in researching for today, he
Hmm.
was great, Crazy Joe. That like I did now the reference to it was real understandable.
Yeah,
Not
he was very unorthodox.
strict. Yes.
Um
So
um
that we see today was
yeah.
because like you can't lock certain doors or you can't lock them from the inside. Like those are we know and working in schools, but
So this
watch this and you realize, oh, it was somebody like him that caused it.
yeah. So this was the first time that I watched Lean on Me since I've worked in education.
Right, right, right.
So it was actually a delight to watch this time around because it was like so much that was said and done that it was like, no, there's no way you can get away with that today.
No,
Even though like that may be what's needed, right?
yeah, yeah,
But but nah, man, like Lean on Me is a classic. I also did some research on the real Joe Clark, and he was way worse in his disciplinary, right? So the baseball bat, right? So like that was not, I don't think that was ever touched on in the movie, but he used to like walk the halls with a baseball bat. I forget what he had,
Mm-hmm.
whistle
yeah.
in the movie. But he would the
Right.
bullhorn, that's what it was. He walked to schools in the movie with a bullhorn, but in real life he did the bullhorn and the baseball bat.
In the back.
Well, the reference behind that is more so the area that we're in was really gang affiliated. It was a lot of gang violence. So that was his way of protecting the building, protecting his students, and probably himself as well.
Mhm.
So it wasn't
Well,
a bat toting crazy man.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, and this is, let me say first that Lean on Me to me, as to many, is, one of those pivotal movies. You can
Yeah.
recite so many lines, the songs. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, I will still run through the halls. Y'all know I work in schools. I will run up on somebody and be like, Code 10, get those chains off the doors. And it is just beautiful. And I remember being young, and I remember thinking, like, wow, this man really made a difference. He
Hmm.
is, coming forth and helping. Now that was young Tracie.
Yeah.
Okay, now Tracie understands that Joe Clark was a respectability politics. Negroes, they don't respect you because you don't pull your pants up type situation. And I
Yeah.
have my, I have my issues with that kind of figure today as I am as I walk through life. But the Joe Clark, I see him just totally different now, and it's crazy
Mhm.
how your perspective changes. But a great story, just told well, great acting. It was just really done well.
But
And
on my social
I
media
agree.
last week, I believe, I asked a question and prepared because I had watched this film again. And I asked a question just out loud. It was based off a tweet that I saw and be watching this. And it was more so like, how many times did you have a black male teacher or even a black male principal at your school throughout your school? And for me,
mm,
it was only once. I had one black male teacher, and that was in middle school. I had the principal that I had at elementary school was leaving when I got to the school. When I got to kindergarten, he was leaving, and we got a black female, a woman teacher to be the principal. But all throughout school, I only had one black male teacher. Did y'all have more than that, or
I okay. I am thinking. I went to Catholic school from elementary to and all through middle school, so there were no Negro teachers there. It was a sea of whiteness, you know.
uh-huh.
Yes, I lived. My friends at that time lived on farms and such.
Mm,
Um, so it was not until I got to school for the arts and my black male ballet teacher, Sylvester Campbell,
mm.
came through and changed my life. So in high school
And I know
is when I
now
first.
it's more because I'm one of them. So I'm seeing more, but I'm still seeing less than the other or women teachers or black women. I'm still seeing it's still being one or two black male teachers in a whole school. Or if you do get a black teacher, it's normally an enrichment teacher. It's not your everyday teacher. And does that matter? Does that make a difference? Because in watching this, his presence at that school made a difference. Because a lot of the students in this movie said it. He was like a father figure to them, and I'm wondering if that has been a problem. Because did we ever have an abundance of black male teachers in the school system? Was there ever a big presence, or were they like the Joe Clark?
No,
Uh,
they were always scarce
mm,
and still are. I
mhm,
mean, from what I've read and um from what I've seen.
right. And what I'm saying now, the representation is there, but I'm seeing more representation in the bouncer like quality in the school system from black males than in
You
the
mean like as in hall monitors?
I ain't want to call them a whole monster because that's a grown ass man, but that's what they feel like bouncers to me. Because most of them were bouncers. Because I've seen
Oh,
them
what
at
are they called now? So the hall monitors and the
specialists.
behavioral specialists.
Yeah, yeah. But many of them were physically bouncers. I've seen them work clubs. So
Well, that's all Joe Clark was,
yeah,
if
yeah.
we are being honest, because he that's exactly what he was. He came
Yeah,
in
he
to
bounced
enforce.
300
And
students
I
out of
will
his school.
enforce with my back. I will enforce with. So that is absolutely what he was, and that is the picture that they paint. And I think that's why when I say my perspective of him has changed
Hmm.
over the years, from being oh my goodness, he saved these people, to no he didn't, but it was a cute movie.
But I that the necessity for that person now may not be. We don't need that image at this. But at that time when they had metal detectors in schools, I would have definitely felt safe with a Joe Clark as one of the leaders versus somebody that was going to sit down and talk to them. Like I don't think a drug dealer gonna care about your kumbaya moment versus now where a lot of them just don't go to school. Then they were in the school, and I remember the environment of this movie. That's what was happening. It was drug dealers and gang members, and like the boy was on crack. Like the little
Mhm.
child was on crack at the time. So
I
this,
think it just comes
Have
down
you
to
been to Baltimore City School, sir?
well, I've never seen a child do crack before, but that's why this movie was crazy because
well, they don't do the crack. They
crack.
I mean,
I
like
was going to say they're not going to do it in
it's
front
not
of
like they're
you.
gonna do it in your face.
Well,
Um,
I've never seen it, so
yeah, but but
You
and
smoke
crack
crack,
and
don't you?
maybe not crack today, but
right.
I mean, if you don't know that some of
You
our kids
smoking
are on some drugs,
substances and popping pills and
substances,
boom.
yeah, I would challenge anyone to just open your eyes and pay a little bit more attention
Yeah.
And you'll realize that it's much more prevalent in our schools than it might
Yeah, I
seem
haven't
to some
done
people.
a lot of high schools. I did mostly middle school, and then the last couple of years it's been elementary schools.
Yeah,
So I don't know too many elementary school students that's popping pills.
But they
not too.
getting their life in the middle schools, I tell you that.
They are getting their life in middle school.
Yeah.
Their
And I
entire
think
life.
but you know what, Nate, I'm in the middle, um, because like I think our schools would benefit from a few Joe Clarks right now.
Yeah.
But I also sit in the middle because I think Tracie represents the school of thought that like, yo, like we're not leaving anybody behind. And if you think that you can gauge your success by just kicking out or removing all of your problems, right? And that's essentially what Joe Clark did. Like and even in the movie, so in real life, he actually did suspend, expel, or get rid of 300 students.
Mm-hmm.
In the movie, I don't know if he did it the way that he did it in the movie in real life, but in the movie, he put all of the problem kids on stage and then in front of the whole school dismissed them. Like, get out, goodbye. And
You are all
I think that's the easy
executed.
route. I think that we could make, like, if we did that at every single Baltimore City school, I think we would see an instant turnaround. We would see an instant turnaround. One, because we would have
But we're not allowed to do that. We can't even kick the child out of the classroom anymore.
and for good reason. I think that if we can't figure out a more creative way to engage and motivate students by just removing them when they don't fit into our expectations of how a student should behave, I believe that's a failure on us.
But
as educators.
I've had a very difficult journey, or I've had a journey in learning how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, you got
ain't no walking.
You got sent to the principal's office, and the principal or whoever was the vice principal dealt with that.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's almost like I have to, in the moment, wave a magic wand and get this child to want to participate and want to be here, want to listen to me.
Yeah.
While
it's harder.
All these other children who are already doing that are having their class time put on pause for that student to readjust. And that's the issue that I have with it. Like,
right.
I don't want to ever see a child ever be kicked out, because I've never been kicked out, so I wouldn't even know what that felt like. But at some point, the school cannot be the training ground or the rearing ground for children.
Well, that's what I was going to say. This is what I want to say, and this is why, in my humble opinion, the school system is completely flawed.
Yeah.
The school system is built for things to go one way. And if students do not fit in that one way, they do not benefit. What happens, what we're seeing is the result of people just
giving up,
throwing their children and saying, here, school is not for every child.
No.
Not the way it's set up.
Nope.
It's not for every child. And there are absolutely some children that are not benefiting at all. They're not getting any kind of education. So when you say leave that child here, when I know every day I don't get no support from nobody, especially from home, where I feel like I can be of some sort of assistance. No, we have to find something that works for this child, because nothing is going to come of this.
Right.
But my stress. And that is and that is what I'm saying. So I understand absolutely, George, what you're saying about it is my job to engage them. And I do understand when I step in the room, my job is to keep everybody. But I also know that it's 2021. Like, we have got to change the whole way we do the classroom.
Well,
like, so that's.
Nah, and I feel you, because like I believe that within the framework of what the system is today. That doesn't mean that I don't think that the system needs drastic changes. And Tracie, I agree with you personally. I think that school needs to be more of an option. Um, it just ain't everybody's cup of tea. And
But
I
let's
think
not
that there's
confuse that with education in general, because somebody may hear that and think that education should be optional. Education should be for everybody, and you should have to go through a system of education, whether it be homeschooling or you in a small group class or general population class. Like
Mhm.
it has to be reworked.
I I I
I
I
see it,
I don't I'm not I don't think it's necessary.
what the
I
school.
no, I
Mhm.
honestly, like, my thought is, and I mean, like, the early years, like, yeah, but this idea that we need to keep kids in school who either are not, like, some kids are going through some things where school is the last thing on their mind.
But is that the
and
school
and
fault?
I'm not sure if we should be backtracking or defaulting to schools as a place to, because it's really just become a place to just house children for 8 hours a day,
Exactly.
and that's a huge
That's
problem.
the
That's a huge
babysitter.
problem, and it's becoming this thing where, like, because there are so many kids that are dealing with so many different things, that school is just not a priority for them,
Yeah.
and
It's no longer
they,
escape either.
huh?
I said it used to be an escape when they were going through those problems, and now
I don't think it was ever an escape.
I think for
I
a
don't.
lot
I
of
don't think. I don't think for any. Like, let me tell you something. The school system, the education apparatus in this country has been, the decline in it is directly correlated to us making everyone go,
Mm.
and
but
that's just
I don't
that's
think
just the truth.
but
Like, there was a time
it
where
wasn't
every
always
child
been,
did not attend school.
but it hasn't all it's never been you have to go to this building. It's always been an option of what type of school. And I know financial needs are sometimes an issue, but there are many different options for you. If
Yeah,
people
like
Okay,
like
exactly.
like like back then it was like, oh, I don't go to school. I go with my dad to the shop where he works,
mm,
and I work with him and I learn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my dad's a mechanic, and now that I'm 10, 11, 12 years old, I go with my dad to work, and I work as his, basically, like, as his apprentice. My dad's a carpenter, I go to work with him. My mom is a seamstress, or
I'm thinking you saying this was your story. I was like, okay, that was.
no, I'm talking about education before we mandated that every child must go to school for 12 years.
I think the things that school for me, what I see school being helpful in is just allowing other children to be around other children. Because I
Yeah,
notice a
you
lot
do
of
that in the neighborhood.
yeah, but it became unsafe to be in your neighborhood. So you didn't really well, I know for me it just wasn't an option for me to just learn from my neighborhood.
Like, it's funny, like, we have this narrative that if kids aren't in school, then they're up to no good. But
No,
that's because we don't provide anything good for them to do
and
if
that's
they don't go to school.
Exactly.
Like, the only
and I'm
reason
not
that the
one of them
majority of
people.
kids who don't go to school end up hanging
Mhm.
on the corners, becoming dope boys, or selling drugs, or into crime, is because we literally have laws that prevent them from doing anything else if they're not in school. And then the ones who figured out creative ways to get around those laws, well, those are the squeegee boys who we run off corners, and we trying to criminalize them.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting. I saw a lot of people posting this one meme about them not seeing any children shoveling snow, and the only thing I could think of is, well, look how you treated the squeegee boys. Why the hell
Right,
would you want to shovel a
right.
sidewalk when you?
So we've got people who have literally spit at, got out of their car, waved guns at squeegee kids for asking, "Hey, would you like your windows washed?" And now you think these
Mm-hmm.
same kids gonna feel comfortable going into other neighborhoods, knocking on doors, like, "Would you like me to shovel
With a
something
shovel.
with a shovel?" Right.
Right. So we gonna have to
Ali.
talk a little bit more about that because that's I think us all being educators, that's definitely important. But this film had the same level of historical aspect.
Hold on, Miss Tracy. We picking up all that background.
Oh, you can hear something in the background. Let
We
me see.
picking
Can
up
you
all that.
still?
We picking up whatever he watching. We picking all of that up.
Thank you for saying it. Can you hear now?
Yes, we hear you.
Look at God. Okay.
They,
We I'm used to giving parents like that freedom because I know it ain't easy. Uh,
Oh
but uh,
no, I'm out.
but in terms of Ali, uh, I'm always iffy with Will Smith. Is always he did it or ooh that wasn't too good, Will.
he's the
But in
Fresh
terms of
Prince.
right, in terms of the story, just strictly on the story, I love how it incorporated his relationship with key people like Malcolm X and a lot of characters that they wasn't really you didn't see who they were. I think this one kind of it almost was like the Ali and Malcolm story because you saw a lot of elements of Malcolm X being incorporated in his life until he was excommunicated from the Nation of Islam. But I like the story, and it was interesting. But Will is always hot or cold. But in terms of just the story, I think he did a good job. I wish he would have used his own voice instead of try to use Ali's voice. But other than that, I like the story. I like the story. I like
Mhm.
his relationships with Malcolm as well.
So I enjoyed Ali. I thought it was really good.
Hmm.
Um, I have no issue with Will Smith. I think that people can't get out of the he was the Fresh Prince for like 7 years.
No, but
I
I've
think that
seen
there's people who just
good
really can't
job.
get over that. So whenever they see Will Smith in a role, no matter how phenomenal he's doing,
No,
it's
but
just
I've
like it's the Fresh
seen him do.
Prince.
I'm a fan of Will Smith, but I've seen
Oh
him
no.
be really great in dramatic roles,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen him like because he's one of those. I want to say he's more of a method actor because he really gets inside of it, and I think that's just the way he was taught. But it really sometimes it be just a little the voice thing he was doing. It was just a little off to me, and that
Mm-hmm.
was it. That was it. But I've seen him do really phenomenal work that he didn't get any accolades for, and then I've seen him do bad things that got all this publicity. And this was kind of like it was a really good movie. This is a biopic that's more suited for big screen. And
Mm-hmm.
you can tell it had many elements of entertainment. It gave a lot of. It wasn't the typical biopic or the traditional biopic, but it did give a lot of references to his life. It showed us a lot of information that we may not have known about him. Um, People who didn't know that he gave up a big chunk of his career fighting in court to keep from going to war, the draft to keep from being drafted because they were intentionally drafting him into the army because he was winning so much and he
Mm-hmm.
lost a lot of his steam and power as a fighter even though he came back a couple times, but he lost a big part of his career not being able to fight at all, uh, fighting that in court. Um, and I like a lot of honesty and a lot of his history facts being included. But a really good
Mm-hmm.
movie. It was an easy watch, and Will Smith will give you a movie when he's in it. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed Ali. I feel like Jamie comes through
Yeah,
in a special way. It moves, it moves, and I think Will has some great moments, like that
yeah,
scene in the car when he finds out about Malcolm.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah, so I think he made it happen. He definitely put the work in on the body.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
had he yeah, so I think that it told, and again, I cannot depend on this movie to give me everything. Like the things that I really know about Muhammad Ali did not come from. watching Ali.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is it,
So
well, for me, biopics are a good introduction to people that you may not have known them outside of the things that made them great.
mhm.
Like the fact that he deserted Malcolm when the Nation of Islam did. Those interesting facts make you want to
But
go study
but
both.
see, let me interject right there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my issue, and why I'm much more with Tracie on like these biopics are a thing, but
Mm-hmm.
should never be relied on if you really want to learn and understand the real story. Because you got Ali, there's one perspective where you kind of walk away feeling like he abandoned Malcolm. Then you have movies like One Night in Miami,
Mm-hmm.
where where it's told from a different perspective, in that he was kind of using Ali.
Mm-hmm.
So you want the real story, you probably shouldn't lean on a movie to get it.
No, I just like I just said, it's biopics for me have always been like a classroom lesson. Like when you in class and you're getting a history lesson, you're not learning the whole book. You're getting key points, and it kind of intrigues you to go and do your research and learn more about the people that they're talking about. That's
Yeah.
why normally for a biopic for me, if it's just a flat story, I don't like it. I want a little bit more of a well-rounded storytelling of this person. Not
Mm-hmm.
it's not going, you can't tell a person's whole life in a 2-3 hour movie, but biopics for me are often, especially if it's somebody I don't know, is a good intro for me to learn something and then have a question. And
Mhm.
I don't know his relationship with Malcolm, and many people, the Nation of Islam has always accused, Malcolm of being a person who used his relationship with these types of people to move ahead. But then other people have a direct opposite point of view on him and his personality. But who's telling the truth? We don't know because we don't know Malcolm.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives you a lot of empty spaces to be able to tell who would have known the two of them were almost the best of friends based on what this movie says and other accounts. But it was just interesting seeing a biopic that kind of studied his relationship. With
Mm.
him being such a flashy person, it gave you a lot of his relationships, and most times
Okay.
you get that in a biopic. You just get that person's story or like the key points, and that'll be it. But I like biopics because it gives you that intro into learning if you didn't already know or follow that person. But I like
Okay.
it because it felt like it was meant for the movies,
Mm.
like
It
y'all
was.
said.
It was visually
Yeah,
Yeah, very visually
and I
stunning.
stimulating.
don't know why.
It's a beautifully shot film.
Yeah, I don't know
I
why when
agree.
I saw this the first time, I didn't realize Jada Pinkett was in this. So when I
See?
just watched it
Yep.
for this, I totally missed that. Totally
Mm-hmm.
missed the fact that she was in it.
Mhm.
I don't know
Wifey.
what I was watching, but and they had a sex scene together. I was like, oh, okay,
Come on, Baltimore.
come through. So
Yes.
I guess the last one we have, the newest one that's on the list,
Final straw.
Judas,
Mm.
And
Black
the
Messiah,
black
Miss Messiah.
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 So what did you guys think about this?
It was a phenomenal film.
Hmm.
I'm here for it, yo. I'm loving seeing all these black folks shine in film and television right now.
Hmm.
Like, I'm loving it. I'm here
Right.
for it. My my only issue with the film, but I guess is I don't even think it was much of an issue, because I guess when you think about the story that it was ultimately telling, but I think it falls into that same category around Ghost of Mississippi.
Hmm.
Like, it led you to believe that you were getting a movie solely about Fred Hampton, right? And like, I was
Right.
going to learn about him from A to Z, but it wasn't. It was more of the story about. It was really
Of
the
Judas.
story about, like, you know, the
Judas.
FBI and like you know
Yeah.
how they got such a hard on for us when we start to organize. Like they don't like that shit. And that's
But
what this
like
movie really was.
Tracie just said, it really hyped up that informant, black informant
Yeah.
aspect of our
Well,
history.
that's a real thing. And that's a real thing.
And it is something that we often glaze over. But this one specifically, because I remember seeing the documentary years ago. It was like a
Hmm.
more of an interview, and then learning that man killed himself
Yeah,
shortly.
he killed it.
Mm-hmm.
So that interview was for the you remember the documentary Eyes on the Prize?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he did that interview in like the second edition of Eyes on the Prize, and the night that it aired, he killed himself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just really, because I remember us talking about this when we talked about Malcolm's movie,
Hmm.
learning that it was three different groups that was out to get him. But when you learn that it was internal, like these people who were actually the shooters or actually allegedly a part of it were people who were his security officers, or in this case, this man was brought into the whole Black Panther uh institution, and he was an informant from day one. Like
And that's
Yeah.
what they did. They the setup was so real.
yeah.
And I don't think people understand the lengths to which they were willing to go.
Right. And use people.
And it
Hmm.
But
makes me just realize that they recognize the power.
the
And
guy
it's
who,
insane. Go ahead. I'm
right.
sorry.
No, go ahead. I was saying, but the guy who played, I can't remember his name, the guy who was kind of in charge of the informant, who kind of was like getting the story from him, he had an interesting role in this because he was being used by the people on his side, and he was trying to make a moment for himself and wind up falling for the same thing this other guy
Hmm.
was falling for. But me again, I knew a little bit about Hamden, but it again. I for some reason when I watch a biopic, I'm just thinking, or a movie about a person, I am expecting to know more about them, and it gave me a little bit more information on just that informant aspect. I think that's what I took away from this. Like a lot of our history was derailed by the telephone coming from inside, the call coming from inside the house. Like,
Hmm.
because we can't explain why stuff didn't work out, but this shows us like it was from within that a lot of our stuff broken down. But
Right.
it was an interesting movie. I just liked the movie. Uh I like how these films today, these streaming network films, are recycling a lot of actors. So much so that we don't even realize that this was the same person that was in this. Like his wife, the young lady who played, I don't know if they ever got married, but the woman he was with was also in the Jamie Foxx movie that was out of New Orleans. And I had to watch it again to realize that was the same person. But
Mm.
it's also giving actors, and I hope that this trickles down on a higher level as well as the local level in our art and acting and just art scene in general. We have to start utilizing all of our artists, not just the ones that look pretty on screen or look pretty on stage or look the part, but really finding actors and really dissecting them and letting them have their moment, because we're getting so many powerful moments, even in bad movies. There's a
So you
lot of
saying let talent lead?
let talent lead. Stop trying to
Yeah.
manufacture it or
Hmm.
put the pretty face up because all actors gotta look a certain way because the public won't perceive. Because we're loving, and I'm not saying these people are just mud buckets, but I'm just saying let all people have it.
Not
People
the
are
sweat bucket.
people. I'm just I'm just
It's
saying,
a
like,
mud
we
bucket.
all are three different human beings. We all look different, but we all have a certain skill set. Why not let that be seen? instead of us trying to manufacture great moments or building up, Hollywood actor or such. But and I
Yeah,
think
well,
that
we're fighting years of beauty standards, and this is what will sell. And many of the old guards are still in charge. But I think we are definitely seeing a changing of the guards and things shifting to something that is more real and is more honest. So that's what art is meant to do.
Yeah.
because when I look at him, I mean, even the real Hamden, like that's a real person.
Hmm.
Why would you cast somebody who is not even close to who he really was in real life
But he
in terms of
wait,
how he talked and
you mean in the look?
just a look like casting somebody not
You know who cast people who look like the subjects a lot?
mhm.
Lifetime movies.
Well they
They
be doing
really do a
it.
good job of casting people who actually look or resemble the person that they are portraying. But
Sometimes
we
you gotta
see the
do it.
quality of
And that's
those
the
films.
only thing they get right.
That's the only thing they seem to get right, yo. Like I think we need to get out of this. Like if you're not willing to admit
Yeah.
that I'm not gonna say his last name because I always butcher it. But if you don't think that Daniel is like one of the top tier premier black actors that are operating right now in Hollywood, I
Mhm.
think you just out of your mind.
But if either one of them, the guy who
And
played Judas as well, if we just went by those beauty standards, neither one
what
of those
beauty
guys would get
standards, dude?
picked.
Like
You said what beauty
what
standard?
beauty standards are you talking about? Like for Lakeith Stanfield?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm
You're
not.
saying they're the anti beauty standards
But that
because they look real.
right because
Oh,
it
okay.
would have been
Oh,
it would have been the cookie cutter image of a person or the
But you're
guy.
also saying that they don't look enough like Fred Hampton.
No, but I don't mind that though because we're supposed to fall into whatever life that they build as that character. We're not supposed to be looking at the real person playing it. And if
Yeah,
you
because Chadwick was not giving you Thurgood
no,
realness.
what do you
no.
mean in like in a looks department?
Yes.
No, yeah, he
Oh,
was far too dark. It's like,
even dark. But
He had to get a perm. He had to
right,
get
yeah.
a band too.
yeah, but at the same time, if he did a good enough job, you didn't even think about what he really looked like. Not on that
Oh
other.
yeah, I don't think they should have to look exactly like
Me neither. No,
Now
like
I'm not
that's what
saying
I'm saying that the talent that the acting should speak for itself.
yeah, yeah.
And
Now
one
not
thing that I definitely, no matter how I might have felt about certain aspects of the film,
right.
I haven't even really had the debate with myself about is the acting in the film.
Yeah,
Because in my opinion, that shit was top notch.
yeah. And we
I
and we don't even think about stuff like that. I don't want them to do a thing that they did with Nina, where they put black makeup on somebody or darker
mhm,
makeup on somebody that's
Oh,
like.
we shouldn't even mention that film.
yeah,
I'm just saying,
we
but
shouldn't.
We gonna pretend that
But you
never
also got to
happened.
understand, yo, like that. I don't think that the woman who eventually played Nina in that film was like their first choice. Like from what I understand, and I think we talked or touched on this last
Oh, but
season.
she's so good that they
But
was like, we just got to put some dark makeup on her.
no,
To make
I don't even think that's what it was. I think she was like last resort. Like from
Cause
what I
no, her
from what
voice was it was a terrible time.
yeah, well, from what I heard was that because this film was not that film was not um the family was not they were not on board with that film.
They
clearly.
were not.
And then from that I heard rumors that there were other actresses who turned it down simply because the family was not on board with the film.
And that's integrity. I like that.
Right. And I think so, they landed on an actress who may have felt like, that wasn't a big
But see,
important thing
that's what I was referring
or
to when
that
I
or
said
that she just
manufacturing.
needed the work. You know what I'm saying? Because that happens too. Like, I'm
But in
not.
her mind, she justified all those decisions that makeup and costume and director and producer made,
Uh huh.
and they were manufacturing a moment. And that's when
and that's why the movie. But that's why the movie sucked. It didn't do well. It bombed, and it now lives in like the forgotten box. Because unless someone brings it up for a specific reason, who remembers that fucking film?
I would just be like,
Nobody.
I didn't see that movie. What are you talking about? I would deny this to your
face. Yeah, it was.
Like most people just refused to go see it because it was like, that's ridiculous. Why it
was scary.
Yeah, when I saw it, they made a mistake by putting her on the promotions and marketing because that clear.
It should have been a surprise.
Right.
I'm like him.
But that just happened. We just said that happened with Bozeman. We didn't say, if you good enough, you make me forget. Now I'm in the back of my head, like, first of all, I don't remember Thurgood Marshall being skinny. I don't remember him being dark skinned. But if you did a good enough job,
Chocolate Marshall.
Right, we didn't even talk about We didn't even talk about that issue, but because he did a good enough job to make us get into the character of it and not. Because if I see them try to shove them locks into another wig for Whoopi Goldberg one more time, I'm going to scream. Because just let the character have locks.
They be like, we going to do this. She needs a perm. Merle needs a perm, honey.
Because them wigs
Whoopi just sit there. Yeah, Whoopi just sit there and let them.
Right, they shove all that blocks under a wig. The miss, I can tell you got locks under that.
Smoking her Newports.
But
one of the things I took away from this movie, I like to think that at some point, and I think this is it's gonna have to happen for our people to turn the corner. Is like, yo, just go ahead and take your 5 years for impersonating an officer. You know what I mean? Like the whole time, like, okay, I get it in the sense that he wasn't like the righteous, like, I'm down for the cause type. He gets in trouble. They say, listen, you can do this and it'll get you off. Okay. But at the point that he started to realize, like, there's that scene where there was the rally, like right after Fred got out of jail, and his handler, the white FBI agent, comes to that rally.
Was he white?
And they had
albino.
No, he was white.
Was giving me albino.
No, that's Matt Damon's little brother.
You sure? I mean, he's not black.
I mean,
you never know.
You never know. They ain't claiming that shit. I can tell you that. I can tell you he ain't claiming it if that's the case. But no, like
there was a point where he should have been like, No, go ahead. There was a point when he should have been like,
oh yeah. So there was like that rally. They were both there, and there was a whole conversation. Was like, yo, you really believe that shit? He talking to Lakeith's character.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I think the character becomes like, he's like, oh wait a minute, like the shit that they doing here. This is for real. This is like, this ain't no game. This is a worthy cause. It's like at that point that I feel like I would have been like, or I hope that I would have had the courage to just go back and say, listen, nigga, you had to go ahead and throw me in jail because I ain't fucking with what y'all doing because they not terrorists. Like, I think he came back after the first time and he was like, these are not terrorists.
But see, at that point, he knew if he would have went against that man or the FBI, they would have not only thrown him in jail, they would have revealed who he was.
So I think that was something that he realized much later. I think that there was that came later in the film where they started to insinuate that they would like leak him to, like that was after there was, like after it was clear how those things were handled. Then but early on there was not. It was just like if you don't do what we want, you going to jail.
If you would impersonate a federal officer, you don't give a damn about anything. So you really okay?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That was but see, that's why the film was so well done because it was clear that he began to care, right? Like it was clear that he was conflicted. It was clear that he was operating. It was very clear, and that's what I really liked about this movie because I think that in conversation, a lot of what I hear in the conversations around these types of issues is a very black and white conversation, and I think that this movie really kind of set the stage for us to understand that these are not black and white issues. It's not just I'm a deplorable human being, or I'm a snake, or I'm a rat.
Well, that's what
like,
we learned in the Malcolm documentary as well, because that's what the guy who was the actual guy who was his security said. He said, I was just trying to feed my family. Like he doesn't say whether it was right or wrong, but clearly he was just trying to feed his family. You know, and
I just think in this movie there were points where he could have said, y'all gonna have to just go ahead and book me. Just go ahead and book me.
I think that was the whole play on Judas. Judas never hated, like he wasn't trying to get Jesus killed, but he just got an offer that he couldn't refuse. Like that was, what do you do? Like, and I'm being told that somebody is going to betray me. Oh shit! Well, he already knows. So, well, fuck, I might as well get what I'm getting on this.
I think the Judas analogy is a little different.
It was. I mean, it's different from the story, of course, but the same premise.
I think the premise is similar. Yeah. But I just think, like a lot of this, like we know that this is a thing, like that white supremacy has so often infiltrated, and that's how they destroyed movements, and that's how they've destroyed ideas. That's how they destroyed people and lives. It's how they destroyed our ability to come together and organize.
And we're watching from the outside, and it's easy for us to look at.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I specifically said. That's why I specifically said. I said I hope.
Yeah.
I would hope that I was of the character and possess the courage to, if I ever found myself in a situation like that when I realized what I was doing, that I could just go and say, hey, y'all gonna have to throw whatever punishment. You know what I mean?
Look, this is wrong, damn it.
Yeah.
But look at the whole Messiah aspect of it, because he knew he was about to die. Like I think he felt like he was gonna spend the rest of
I'm talking.
That don't make it right.
No, not the Judas character. I'm speaking about
no, you talking about Fred Hampton.
Right, but just on either side of it, because he could have taken that money and fled the country with it. But he said, no, put this back into a center.
Yeah, he was about the people.
Right.
But all I'm saying is that before all of that, right, I believe that the Judas character, there was a part of him that understood that he was down for this cause. And at that point, I think, like that's all I'm saying. I'm saying that if I was ever in a similar situation, if I was ever in his shoes, and I think that now that we have the historical context, I would hope that other brothers
would choose the latter.
Would choose to take your consequence for the cause.
It's always and I don't want to be negative and speak this into existence, but we just had what's the guy that was working with Trump as the housing person? We have those people.
Oh, Ben.
Right, Candace Owens and Ben Carson. Those people still exist. They're going to exist because it's something that they want, and until they can see us and not it's always going to be that person. That's
true.
Well, the difference between a Carson and a Candace and the Judas character is that a Carson and a Candace are very public.
Yeah. Yeah.
With their opposition, right?
Yeah.
But you have someone who is planted with the sole purpose of deceiving you. And he was conflicted, and it shows in life as well as how he chose to die.
Yeah.
It was not so. Just recognizing that it's human, right? He's a human, so no, he's not all bad in what he was trying to do, but
Right. It was interesting, even the story that the FBI agent was telling him, like likening the Panthers to the Ku Klux Klan and how they pursued vengeance and freedom. Like I not that it justifies a person choosing to help them, but it a person who's already like in their own space with things, not even knowing what they're stepping into. You can tell he didn't care about no Black Panthers before that. He was about a car. Like that's the first thing he asked the FBI agent for was a car. That's I think he got what he wanted at the top, and then all the money just was extra. But he just wanted a car. He was.
Nah, you should watch it again. That's not exactly how it went down.
I mean, I'm
I don't
watching.
want to. I don't for our viewers who may not have seen it. I mean, our listeners who may not have seen
Mm-hmm.
the movie. I don't want to give too much away, but I know exactly what point you're talking about, and I think you should watch it again because I think you may have taken it a little out of context.
No, I mean, I saw what I saw,
I
and
mean,
that's
the car was not something that he wanted for his own benefit for himself. It was
I'm
something that
speaking
they were
in.
having a specific conversation about him getting in deeper and how he could do that. And he's like, "Well, I'm a driver. If you give me a car,
Mm-hmm.
like
I can
I can
drive
make
for
myself
them.
relevant to this subject."
Them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it
I
wasn't about
just.
like I just want a car, give me that and I'll do whatever you want. It
Mm-hmm.
was a conversation based out of like it. That was the conversation where he came back and he's like, "Yo, I don't understand what you're doing. These aren't terrorists, right? They're running a food program and they're
Mm-hmm.
talking about starting a political party. These are not terrorists."
Mm-hmm.
And that was where that threat came again. It was like, listen, you do this for me, I do this for you. Otherwise, you know, it's 5 to 10 years for impersonating, an agent. What do you need to get closer? Well, I'm a driver. If you give me a car, I can get closer.
And that's
And
just
that's
not
what he did.
how
It's not like he took
I
the car and went
saw
off
that
and did something
happen.
fake. He took the car and he
But
offered
that's
his services.
right, and but I see that. But what I got from that was he wanted a car, and that was it. And not to say that's all he ever
Yeah.
wanted, but that's what I saw. That's what I took from that moment. So I get what you're saying, but that's what I took from it.
Okay.
But uh, a lot of this, one of the and me deciding which ones it was a lot of them that I wanted to add to the list or
Mhm.
put on it, but we couldn't talk about every single biopic. But I just tried to pick one from different eras that was more of a period piece that was, and then you came with the Black Judas,
Yeah,
uh,
well,
Judas
the
and
the
something
release
new
gods, the movie release gods have been kind to us, Nate, because
coming out every week like
Malcolm
this.
and Marie came out just as we were getting ready to go
Hmm.
into the complicated Black love stories,
Yes.
and then the biopic, and we, that came out Friday. So
Right,
it's
right.
really like I've been hitting you up to add the two on. I don't know what comes out next week. I don't know if it's going to happen again. But the last 2 weeks, yeah, the new movie release gods have definitely
Uh-oh.
blessed
So
us a
as,
little
Magic.
bit,
right. So as we
right?
close out, I guess that last question that I would ask you all, if you could play somebody in a biopic, who would it be? Or direct, if you want to direct or actually play the character yourself, who would it be?
Tracie, I'm gonna let you go first.
Mhm. Oh, you're so kind. Listen. Now what's the question again, teacher?
If you if you could be in a biopic and play like a historical character or somebody, you know, who would it be?
I am feeling the greatness of Miss Fannie Lou.
Mm,
I think I would love to direct that piece. Also, a piece that does Nina justice, definitely. So yes, those are my two peoples.
what about you, George?
Who would I like to play? Red Fox.
Hey,
Um, Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that for now. Yeah.
Okay, I received your red fox.
Okay.
Oh,
I think
Sinbad,
Sinbad.
the Sinbad
That's a
biopic.
good one, yeah.
No
That's a good
typecasting.
And that's the
one.
one where
You
I
going
like.
with
I
the
think
red
either I
hair,
could
light
play
skinned
either
boy.
one of those based on the looks, and I'm good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, Sinbad's. I love Sinbad, yo.
And shout
Sinbad's
out
a
to
great
him
part
right
of my childhood.
now. He's had
Shout
a
out to who?
shout out to Sinbad. He had a stroke a month or so ago.
Oh
So
wow,
he's
I
recovering
didn't know
from
about that.
a stroke. But I can't. I think I would like to direct. Um, I would like to direct. I don't know because it's I. I don't know
How you gonna make us answer and bust out with a I don't know?
because I had an answer in my head in terms of acting, but I changed my mind. But I would like to direct the um. The name is just escaping me right now, but I would like to direct maybe like like a August Wilson
Mm.
biopic.
You'd make a great Charles Dutton.
Oh,
Great
Charlie.
Charles Dutton.
Come through
And
Baltimore.
that's somebody that you don't really hear about too much, but and actually, he would be perfect because he also doesn't learn lines very well. Uh, that would
Uh-uh.
probably be the perfect,
Don't put
perfect,
that man out there like
perfect.
that.
I mean, I got to work with him that one time during the jail at Yale, and
He had
yeah,
some trouble.
yeah. Well, he ain't no trouble because he wrote the fucking lies over that piece of paper, but it's
I
cool.
know that's right. He came through. He said, y'all gonna get this Reader's
That
Theater.
would that would be if like there was a remake of Rock. I would love to do
Mhm.
Rock, but I would love to direct like a August Wilson biopic.
Hmm.
Love and make like Jeff Jefferson like August Wilson or something. Just
I
all
know that's a good one right there.
uh, well, this has been Binge Worthy Podcast. Miss Tracy, tell them where they can find you at missartetruth.com.
Who who is looking for me? Well, if you are looking for me, yes, you can go to www.theartoftruth.org, right? We are all things dance, all things theater, all things motivation. We are out here moving and shaking, taking all of your photographs. So yes, you can find me on the local Facebook, Tracie Jiggetts, two G's, two T's, one S for super, and on the local IG, The Art of Truth, and Magical Negro, because I am your magical Negro, your gangster goddess, your thug unicorn, your black Pegasus, all
Okay.
things joy. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being our first guest of the second season.
Mhm.
I was
Thank you for having me. I had
And
so
you
much
coming back
fun.
soon, right?
she
I'll
coming
be
back
back.
soon. She
Yeah,
coming
you'll
back.
be back in the top of our Women's History Month
Yeah.
episode. So
Because I got to hold it down for the ladies. I got to
gotta
come
hold it down for the
through.
ladies.
And I
Um,
thank you so much, Miss Tracy, for coming, and I appreciate it. And George, you got your
thank
last
you,
minute remarks?
thank you so much for coming. It's been an honor having you here. We love your perspective. We love your way of thinking. Um, Yeah, and y'all have a good night. Y'all know where to find us. Bingeworthy Podcast on YouTube, at Bingeworthy Podcast on Instagram, Bingeworthy Podcast on Facebook. We'll be
Yep.
back next week where we're going to be talking about that favorite of favorites of character tropes in these movies that we see. We're going to be talking about the maid, y'all. Y'all
Yeah.
know the maid. Y'all
Oh
know
my
the
Lord,
maid.
I
The
gotta say
maid
something about
be
the
in
maid.
all the movies. The maid, it's always a maid. It's always a
And it's
maid.
more
So we
so the
going
character and not
we going
just in the
yeah,
role.
not just the position, but the
Yeah.
character.
Interesting
There are a
fact.
number of things that signify the maid. And we're
Yeah.
going to talk about that. We're going to talk about it in a little bit of historical context. We're going to talk about it in terms of its relationship to our people in film.
Yeah.
And that's what we
Mhm.
talking about next week. So
And we got
we'll
another
see y'all.
special guest coming up. So stay tuned, stay locked in for that.
Hey, special guest.
Few special guests. We and don't forget every Tuesday there's a new episode at 3 p.m. You can watch it when you want to, but it comes on live every Tuesday. So definitely stay tuned, stay locked in. If you have any ideas for us, because this is going to be a longer season for us, send us your information. If you George is going to start our local DMV
That's
filmmaker
right. We getting ready to
series.
start. We getting ready to
Let's
start a little local
go.
spinoff.
Yeah, so check that out on Facebook Live. We're gonna start that soon actually because we got quite a few filmmakers here in the DMV area. So if you are a filmmaker, if you are a screenwriter or playwriter, hit us up on either our Facebook page or our Instagram page, and we'll get back to you, and you'll be on the show. So peace out. I want to eat some more of my dinner.
Yeah,
So
I'm going to eat
Hey,
some more
I think
too.
I'm about to get into these juices.
oh.
The pot roast, the pot. See, see, got you.
Ah.
Well,
Thought you had a friend.
I'm
Thought
about
you
to
had
go
a
eat.
friend.
Thought you had a friend.
Peace out, everybody. Peace out. Peace out. Peace out. Peace out. Peace out.
Mwah. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.